You got to talk NHL with this guy, Dan Moriarty, joining us. He will forever be known as the host of NHL Cool Shots, but now he's with Burst Trainings, Communications and Public Speaking Company. He's joining us from the West Coast. How you doing, Danny boy?
You know, Rod, I'm doing great because you and I are on the opposite coasts in the best weather in America. Both lucky, and I can see who you're pushing for tonight. You got your Florida hockey shirt on, and I think it's a good call. They may win the division. Yep.
I know. Tell me about it, right? And Dan, listen, before we go any further, we had a poll last week. Do you care about the NHL preseason? And over 70% of respondents said, no, they don't. And I'm like, you clearly aren't telling the truth here. You're pulling our leg. Dan, you and I care about the NHL preseason. I mean, what have you enjoyed about it so far?
I care about the preseason, Rod, because like other sports, what I love about preseason in general, you've got guys who are fighting for jobs. You got guys in juniors who may be going back to juniors. They can't go to the AHL. They're either going to stay in the NHL squad or they're going back. You got some guys who are trying to show their things as 18, 19 years old. And you find some guys as third, fourth liners who are trying to find a space in the bottom 6, bottom 9 forward sometime. And as we saw last year with Tampa, last 2 years, guys in the bottom 6 can win cups for you. In fact, the whole third line from Tampa has now signed big deals around. So your stars always play? No. You get a feeling out? Yeah. Who's your backup goalie going to be? Who's your third string goalie going to be? And you got to find these things in the preseason. Rod, I think it's really important. I think it's also really important this year, more than past years, because COVID, shortened season, bubble, etc. We're getting them back into the 82-game normal schedule, and we drop the puck in a week from now because you need this. And I really believe it's so important for everybody this year, especially to have this preseason and to get a feeling out, because you got to have it. See who's there, see who's not.
Dan, I got to ask you this. I was sitting in the press box at FLA Live Arena the other night and reading the game notes. Dallas Stars were there. Panthers won at 6-3, by the way, and it said 28th season of Florida Panthers hockey coming up. And let me ask you this. You've been doing NHL Cool Shots. You were doing it in the 90s. That was your wheelhouse. Were you down here much? Did you do much Panthers wheelhouse coverage? And if so, what do you remember? What do you remember about it?
Well, just Florida in general. I mean, I remember being with Espo when they launched the Tampa Bay Lightning. I was there with him when that all happened. Go to there. Florida Panthers, I recall being there. I recall being a lot of the guys living in South Beach because that was the cool place to live. And I recall being in a building that was half full. And now, when you put a winner on the ice, and we're seeing it rot across the NHL, it's so great. I live in LA. I see what Gretzky did to Southern California, the Kings, and then then you go across the entire Sun Belt, Arizona, to Arena, Dallas Stars. Keep going. You have the best team right now in Florida. For me, right now is Florida Panthers, top to bottom. However, as a hockey aficionado, I believe Tampa Bay is going to go for the three-peat, which we don't see very often in any sport. And never mind in hockey, I haven't seen it in forever. So I'm on the bandwagon, Tampa, to do it again. But I recall in Florida, no one in the seat. I recall nobody there. I recall the guys loving it, but not getting the following. And now you see when you put a winning team on the ice, fans flock because, Rod, we're biased. It's the best sport to watch. Even if you've never skated in your entire life, you get the juice, you get the drug watching hockey live. That's why I'm so happy for Florida and the Panthers and what they're doing.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've been down here for a few weeks, and there are a lot of Panthers fans. Just not necessarily enough, but like you say, if they win, the barn would be full. Well, listen, we haven't hit California yet, and we're going to get to your area in a minute. But for a second, we're going to talk about my coast over here in Florida, and that's the Panthers and Tampa Bay Lightning. You picked the Panthers to win the division, but the Lightning to win the Stanley Cup. Some would think that's a bit of a juxtaposition. I'm going to need you to explain that for us, if you don't mind.
Because I'll go back to what I was saying before we got cut off there, Rod. In the NHL, teams have to learn how to lose before they learn how to win. And Tampa is part and parcel of that. That's what they did, and then they became the juggernaut that they are, which is why I believe when you have the best goalie in the NHL, the best defenseman in the NHL, possibly the best player up front or a couple players up front in the NHL, when you fill in that bottom six forwards, you have the leadership and maybe the best coach in the NHL. You have the team that knows how to get to a certain point in the season. I believe the Panthers will take the next step in their run at Tampa. And as I said, they will win the division this year. Joel Quenneville has a proven winner. Are all the players on that roster, are they prepared to go through what you have to go through, learn how to go through to win it all? And that's where I go back to, I believe it's going to be Tampa again. Because of that, part of me thinks the window for Vegas is going to be closing soon because they're all in now. And in the West, I believe that that's a team that should be in the Stanley Cup Finals. And I'd like to see Vegas pull through this. Just Tampa to me is the team that is primed, and it's prime, Rod, for us as fans to see someone pull off a three-peat. And what an awkward three-peat. The bubble, shortened season, now 82-game schedule. That's what I think is going to be special about this team, and is going to pull them through. And again, I go back to their coach. Their coach is maybe the best in the NHL, as you guys know now. He's your national coach.
Yeah, who would believe that this could be the best rivalry in the National Hockey League? But I was reading the game notes the other night. Joel Quenneville, second winningest coach in NHL history. I guess I needed to be smacked in the face with that to remember how good of a coach this guy is. But he's in Florida, and he just doesn't get the pub, which is hard to believe, and that's why the Panthers have been so welcoming to us, opening their doors to us to do the show down here. You had a point on Q?
Agreed. And think about where Joel came from, Chicago. Rod, I look at the Blackhawks as being this dark horse this season because of what he put in place before he ended up not being there any longer. And I see Jonathan Taves back, healthy season. Hopefully, you got Pat Kane, and don't ever doubt a hurt or ego bruised Fleury in net. I'm telling you, Chicago's going to be a dark horse, in my opinion, because of the leadership you have in that locker room. From Taves, one of the best captains in the NHL. From Hall of Famer, of course, Pat Kane, to Fleury, the older guys. They're going to carry this young team on. And that's your dark horse for me. And it all goes back, again, to part what Joel Quenneville put into that team.
Sore subject here, MarcAndre Fleury. 36 saves last night in a 6-4 Blackhawks win over the Detroit Red Wings. I'm still a Golden Knights fan for now, Dan, but it's changing. Anyways, I said that I would ask you about California. Yeah, go ahead. What did you have?
Well, don't and when you say, and I'm with the Golden Knights as well, I could be on that bandwagon. Again, I like what their owner has said. He wants the title within 5-6 years. That's great. But again, Fleury being pushed away, and Leonard now being the guy in net. We all know what he's been doing lately on Twitter without the PA behind him. We talk about how to learn how to win when you're losing. It's the same thing in the locker room. What's the chemistry like in the locker room? How is that going to be received when you get back in that locker room? Could that one thing with the goalie Leonard not being Fleury in that locker room now be a bone of contention? Maybe pull some of the guys apart and hurt some of the chemistry. That's gonna be a very delicate walk for me in the Vegas locker room. Now to California, go ahead, man. Do we play hockey out here?
Yeah, well, of course. But hey, the thing with the Golden Knights is that to me is a bit of the elephant in the room, but because their general manager is a longtime friend of mine, Kelly McCrimmon, I'm just deferring that he knows what he's doing, but I have the same fears that you just brought up as a Golden Knights fan, did they stay with the right goalie? To California, road teams used to go in there and get crushed by the Kings and the Ducks and the Sharks routinely. Now that hasn't happened for a few years. They've missed the playoffs, all of them, in back-to-back years. Who's going to be the first team to come back to prominence, Stan, out of that group?
No doubt, in my mind, it's going to be the revamped LA Kings. And not because I live in LA, not because I worked for them for a season. I just feel what Rob Blake has done with the offseason signings, what he has as far as his star leadership, from his captain to Doughty, etc., to the goalie now, the new young goalie pushing the older Hall of Famer goalie. And what he's done with the draft picks, the youth. There's a great mix there of youth, energy, and old guard winning. And I believe LA is the team right now primed to be the first one back. In my opinion, Anaheim is behind them. And then beyond them is the San Jose Sharks, who for a few years I was doing voiceover for them. So I was on that bandwagon. I was working with them and for them. And I hate to see what's happening there. Maybe one of the biggest, nicest stories this early season will be another nice thing for Patty Marleau if he doesn't sign anyplace else. I'm not sure. I haven't read if he signed in the past couple of days. But if he doesn't, if he retires, that may be the nicest story coming out of the Bay Area, because the hockey just isn't going to be there for a little while. And Doug Wilson has his hands full with a lot of contracts that have to be negotiated, moved around, et cetera. It's a tough one. They had their window. They went for it. They lost to Pittsburgh in the finals. I admire them for going all in. And now what do you do? Now you got to take a few steps back to go forward again. And they have some contracts that they're not going to be able to move right away.
Man, that's a lot. And by the way, go Kings. Todd McClellan, their head coach, pride of Melville, Saskatchewan. As far as San Jose goes, it's all on Doug Wilson. He's been there long enough. But I get what you're saying. And now Seattle's played some games. They got Vegas on opening night in Vegas. How excited are you to watch the Seattle team this year, Dan? And do you think they make the playoffs in year one?
They don't make the playoffs in year one. The only reason they might is because the Pacific Division is so lacking, as we just discussed. The Sharks, the Kings, the Ducks. There may be a place for them. I don't think they make the playoffs in the West, and that's okay by me. They haven't built the team the same way that Vegas was built all in right away. However, what they're doing in Seattle is going to be magical. What they're doing in Seattle, you've got Ron Francis, who's a Hall of Fame player, maybe a Hall of Fame GM someday. I just like what they're doing. I like what they're doing from the top down, from the ownership all the way down, and to the fans, and how they've included them in everything they're doing. And players are going to want to be there. They're going to want to play in that arena. And have you seen the practice rink? My God, it's amazing what they've done there. I just like everything about Seattle. I like everything about the sports of that part of our country. And I love the fact that the NHL now has this whole great rivalry going from Vancouver to Seattle to San Jose to LA to Anaheim down to Arizona. The West Coast is great. Don't be surprised if in the not near future somebody ends up in Portland. Why not?
Ooh, wow. They got the arena sitting there. It's a wonderful city, the Rose City. I've been there many times. Yeah.
But the Quebec fans may hate me for saying that. Sorry, Quebec. I didn't mean to say that to you out loud.
Well, it's not necessarily Quebec's fault that they're not going to get a team, but they're not going to get a team. Dan, we have a minute. Tell people about Burst Trainings, what they need to know.
Burst Training, it's a job I've been doing for the past 10 years. I began my own company. I am a communication public speaking coach. I work around North America and the world, working with executives, their teams, their clients, their vendors, on how to communicate your story better so that you are memorable and you make a difference. And it's what I do. It's content that I've created with a few partners, and we are blowing up right now. We launched during COVID because we had to, and it's been a blast. Thank you for asking about that, Rod. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Catch you next time. Everybody, see you tomorrow here noon Eastern on Game Plus TV. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of The Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.